2TC is an achievement in Bloons Tower Defense 6 where you can only place 2 towers down and may have to complete the entirety of CHIMPS mode from round 6 to round 100. And in today's video, as you can see by the thumbnail and title, we're going to be doing this with the Glaive Lord and the M.A.D. So let's place down our Boomerange Monkey and then we will commence the beginning of our journey. Now, if we don't go with the ability to hot lead balloons, then you're doing this wrong, because I don't think there's any way that you'll be able to do this with the middle path, cross path, with the Glaive Lord. Now, I'm hoping we'll be able to get the Dartling Gunner without needing to purchase any upgrades on our Boomerange Monkey, but let's just see how this next round goes. So we're going to put it on strong so that it's targeting the green balloons and then blue balloons if there are no green balloons in the vicinity, so that it's always targeting the strongest most balloon and decreasing their movement speed, because sometimes it's not the first most balloon that you want to target, because that first most balloon might be a very weak one, and therefore you're just allowing the stronger balloons to sail on right by. But we have ourselves our Dartling Gunner down, and we need to get some advanced targeting before round 24, because that is the round in which camo balloons start spawning. And speaking of which, we've got that now, so we don't need to worry about that small issue, because we need camo detection on round 24, because we only have 1 life to work with. We're gonna go to, I would say, Glaive Ricochet. That's a good point to leave the Boomerang with before we're going to settle on upgrading our Dartling Gunner up. I'm thinking of a 240, and then we're going to work our way up the ladder even more with our soon-to-be Glaive Lord. Focus firing and faster spinning. The laser shock is a nice feature, but it's not hugely necessary. Glaive Ricochet is here. I might even be pronouncing that wrongly, but there are other towers in which I keep pronouncing it incorrectly, like our best friend here, but nonetheless, we're not going to be talking about it any further. Round 27 is here, a bunch of balloons that could be coming out here, but we have the Pierce for it, thanks to our wonderful 302 Boomerang here. Yeah, Pierce is not an issue when it comes to this particular tower. This can go through so many balloons without the projectile itself stopping. So what am I thinking here? I'm thinking we should try and get Hydro Rocket Pods before round 40. And I think we're going to not go to more glaives, multiple object advanced ricochet. That's good to know. I'm glad they got that down in writing here. Also, what do you think about tier 5 upgrade names? Yes, they can be a little bit vague, but I think getting something that special as in a tier 5 tower, it really puts the emphasis of the mystery behind this newly discovered, newfound power of a tier 5 tower. So with Glaive Lord as in, okay, so this one's quite descriptive actually. Glaive Lord surrounds itself in 3 special glaives that shred anything that comes near. Glaive Lord's glaives now rip through. Okay, we get that. And then we get that as well. And then, that was a little bit vague, but you kind of get the gist of it. Special knockback Kylies trigger more often and do lots of extra damage. But then there are other ones like, I don't know, the Flying Fortress, which just says this is a big plane. We already kind of get the gist of what it does from its previous upgrades, but sometimes you get something brand new in a tier 5 tower. But then maybe you're lacking the information as to like, well, what does this tower do? Well, sometimes it is a mystery in and of itself if you're a new player and you're discovering the different kind of upgrades that are included throughout the game. And I think that's one of the best things about this game. It's the mystery of finding out what certain upgrades do and what their strengths are, their weaknesses are. So these 2 towers complement each other quite well. The Glaive Lord shreds ceramics, and this thing is good against anything but ceramics, so they both work very well together. This thing can shred Moabs or absolutely obliterate them, and then this can shred the ceramics that spawn inside them. So they are a very nice pair that complement each other very, very well. This cannot target camo balloons without support, but the glaives that orbit around the Glaive Lord itself do have the means of targeting camo balloons. So therefore, if you have 502, then you'll be able to target those DDTs with the glaives themselves. Let's see, a little bit of micro here in order to help us out here. Target the pesky white balloons there. So yeah, our most difficult aspect of this particular 2TC is actually the middle game. It's pre-Glaive Lord days, which is going to be the most difficult ones. But I think Rockets... Actually, we'll get Laser Shock first, but Rocket Storm is going to be necessary for handling some of the early round Moabs and BFBs. Rocket Storm is now active, so we'll be using it on round 50 when the second Moab appears. It's just going to be a little bit easier handling them because the ability itself does more damage than the standard attacks that it fires. But the standard attacks that it fires are plentiful until we can get the Glaive Lord. Right, it dealt with the first one quite well. Now the second one is, well, since we don't have the ability, it's having a little bit of a struggle getting this thing down, and our Boomerang is next to useless against the Moab itself unless we can get Glaive Lord. Okay, so the Rocket Storm is going to have to be on its own against these camo ceramics because our wonderful Boomerang cannot target them just yet. Like, the throwing of the Boomerang itself cannot target camo balloons, but the glaives that orbit around the Boomerang Monkey itself can target. Okay, so let's just use the ability then and there. Let's not waste any more time on that manner. And yeah, we're good to go. Hope everyone's having a lovely day where you are, whatever you're doing. And thank you everyone for your support in all of my videos. Maybe this is your first video that you're watching of mine ever, and I am grateful for having your time here. Maybe I'm not what you would call the most confident speaker or a speaker that speaks the most coherent English, but I'm just one guy who has a big love for this game and also a big love for the community itself, because I think community is one of the most important things about the love of a game. Because if the community is not there backing the game itself, then the game kind of has a lack of drive with the people that play it. So you might have a bunch of people that religiously play the game like every single day, but you need to have a wide community in order to continue to thrive. You need to have people that are still interested in the game, and you need to have new people being interested in the game as well. You need to have a healthy balance between people who are used to the game and know the ins and outs of it, but you also need people who have just started the game and don't know what the process is in order to get a vengeful true sun god is. And that's another beauty about a community, is that it is wide varied when it comes to skill sets. People who are only able to do beginner maps on easy, and then there are people who are able to do the hardest maps on chimps, or the hardest maps on half cash, for goodness sakes, which is sometimes even harder than chimps, even with monkey knowledge enabled. So I think every community needs that kind of diverse skill set and diverse interest in the game. Casual players and hardcore players. If we don't have both, then you're kind of gating your game towards a very niche audience. And I think Balloon Tower Defense 6 can be as easy as it seems or as complex as it seems, depending on how you play it. Okay, we've got the Glaive Lord now. And since the most recent update of 38.0 to, well, actually it's now 38.3, but in update 38, they made it so that if you have the first upgrade on the bottom path, it means that the glaives themselves spawn further away from the Glaive Lord itself, which means it has more range of shredding, which is good. Now that you've entered my range, you're going to get absolutely shredded. So maybe that's not a thing you're wanting to see in the video. It's kind of just what a man just rambling on about stuff that you may already know already. But I love the community to be thriving, but also friendly towards one another. I don't like it when people go at each other's throats in other kinds of communities, because then that makes a community very closed off and not fun and not approachable to interact with. Round 63 just is not even a challenge. These glaives, look, if the Glaive Lord can solo round 163 by itself, then it can honestly deal with everything else here as well, honestly. Round 163 consists of so many ceramics, and this means with its glaives just shreds through all of them. I would love it so that if you change size, it also changes the direction in which the glaives themselves orbit, so that they're not on, like they can be changed from counterclockwise to clockwise, just like how the Super Maelstrom can have the blade direction spin change by upgrading to the bottom path rather than top path, stuff like that. Bottom path of the Dartling Gunner can obviously hit more balloons before a projectile runs out, but my answer to that question is, can the projectile actually hit the balloons in the first place? Because without focused firing, a lot of the missiles would just fly away and not even hit the balloons themselves. So would you rather have the ability to hit more balloons at the cost of less accuracy, or would you rather have less accuracy but with the added effect of guaranteed hitting of the balloons themselves? And I think it also depends on the range in which that Dartling Gunner is operating at. Obviously here it's very far away. You want the projectiles to be able to guarantee hit the start of a track. But if you're more or less leaning towards something that is, well, you want to be able to pop close by balloons, then obviously the bottom path would be better. But here I want the missiles to hit every single balloon that it possibly can. We are 40k away from the lovely Moab Assured Destroyer upgrade on our Dartling Gunner. Round 75, which is the round before round 76, which is infamous for having a lot of regrow ceramics. I made a mistake on one of my previous videos by calling them regrow camo ceramics. My bad. Honestly, I don't know why I thought they were also camo. Maybe they're on alternate balloons rounds, or maybe they're fortified in alternate balloons rounds on this round or another round entirely. Some rounds on alternate balloon rounds are actually easier, but for the most part, alternate balloons rounds are harder, with a lot more DDT spawning as well. And I wonder how many different two-tower chimps combinations are possible on alternate balloons rounds chimps. So you have yourselves a huge amount of DCs to deal with, and a lot of them are fortified as well. It's not just round 99, but there are many other rounds in which the DTs that spawn out are fortified. And also you can get a fortified bad on round 100 on alternate balloons rounds. And then you get a bad on round 99 as well. Oh dear me, the lovely mysteries. Alternate balloon rounds I think is infinitely better than half cash, because half cash is just the same game, but you get half the money, and therefore you have to mainly rely on primary towers, which are cheaper, which in the same way is still quite powerful. But I don't like half cash. It is my least favorite mode in Bloons Tower Defense 6. It's not a mode that I hate, but it's the least favorite, and I don't think that is an uncommon thing to share around the community, is that half cash is not what you call the most approachable mode. But then again, so is CHIMPS. CHIMPS is not that approachable, but it's the fun in the challenge. You have modes which are easier, which are more for the casual players, and then you have CHIMPS, which is there if a casual player dares themselves for a harder challenge, or for more expert players that knows the ins and outs of a game. And I know a few things, but I do not know the ins and outs of everything of this game. And I think if we discover something at the end of the day with this game, despite having, gosh, over 2,700 hours in the game itself, then you feel like you went on that game and you discovered something new, despite the fact that it might have already been in the game since day one. It's not something that was like recently updated within a recent update. So recently added in a recent update. But I love this game. It's a giant sandbox, and you can practically do anything that you want in it as long as you have the money for it, and as long as you know your way around the game itself, then you can pretty much do anything about it. So if I were to describe Bloons Tower Defense 6 in a few words, it's a giant sandbox. We are 5k away from the Moab Assured Destroyer, and when that happens, all of these Moabs will be crumbled into the dust. But then again, the ceramics will meet their demise by the teeth of the glaives that orbit the Glaive Lord. Oh, speaking of mad, here we are. Lovely. Yeah, they go down proper and good. This is going to destroy the Moabs, and this is going to destroy the ceramics. As I said earlier, both of these towers complement each other very well. They both cover for each other's weaknesses. But then again, the Glaive Lord is good against Moabs anyway, so you don't have to worry about those DDTs trying to escape. But what do you think about a community should be included with? Because I honestly think every good community should always have a very, very healthy relationship with both the developers that enable the game to be where it is today, along with all the people that are within it. Both people have been there for years or people that have been there on day one. And one of my previous videos one of my most recent videos that talked about some of my previous videos where I didn't really produce that good of chimps content, and I agree with that, because when I started trying to do like these 2 megapops runs or 2 tower chimps runs, my knowledge with towers that support your main tower or the towers in which you should place down for a 2 tower chimps and being able to like place them in their most optimizable spot, yes, I was not very good at this game. The first like 2,000 hours or so of this game, I've always played with double cash on because I was more of a casual player of this game, and I feel like I'm always getting bogged down even in the most easier modes if I just have single cash on, and that's why I purchased double cash. Like, it's probably a very uncommon opinion to have, having double cash, but it's there for players that feel like they would struggle otherwise, and I feel like you would only take away from the game if you were to strip double cash mode from the game itself. I personally feel that it's there if you want to have it, but I would say that the only thing that you should not do is try and enter any kind of competition stuff with the majority of your experience of this game being on double cash, because of the factor that you're always experiencing the game with an added advantage. Let's see, round 97, fortified CHIMPS just don't stand a chance. Let's just use the ability. Only the ability itself is good against ceramics, but it's an ability. It's not going to be good forever against ceramics. Yeah, even if they do enter this field, the Glaive Lord just shreds them apart. If I upgraded this a little bit later on, we probably could have had 1 million pots between both of these towers. But alas, we have 900,000 on Glaive Lord and what will be 1.1 million on the M.A.D itself. And yeah, it was already down to the badge on its tail before it even got to this mid-section of the map here. A 020 Ace Monkey there, lovely. So that was what you would call a 2 tower chimps guide, but also a black border guide for Resort if you've cleared all the other modes aside chimps. So thank you all so much for watching. That has been 2 tower chimps with both the Glaive Lord and the M.A.D. A pretty uncommon pairing, if I must say so myself, because you would always want to have a 2 tower chimps pairing in which both towers can innately target camo balloons, so without any like additional support from, let's say, a radar scanner village, for example, or a means of decamifying the balloons, so let's say the Energizer, the balloon incineration, or the oh gosh, I forgot his name now, Prince of Darkness route, and stuff like that. I wonder if there are any other decamification modes. I don't think there are other balloons out there, sorry, other towers out there that can remove the camo status. Actually, yeah, the middle path ninja can also do that, but it's not as reliable. Oh, and also the foam from the engineer, but I don't think they're as reliable as the other 3. Like, I think the main 3 best ways of removing camo is definitely the submarine. That's probably the best one. And then I'd say the bottom path wizard monkey, and then the other one would be the signal flare artillery. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this video and the different topics that we talked about in the comment section below. I'm thinking about putting together a spreadsheet. I know, lovely spreadsheets. I adore Excel spreadsheets. You either love them or you hate them. I'm personally a person that loves to look at data and see the hard work that somebody has put into this document. It's like, look at all these figures and numbers. But in this case, it's just listing out different challenges like 2 megapops and 2 tower chimps, or just like trying to do a chimps run on some intermediate maps which I've yet to do, or trying to do an advanced map or expert maps. And this is like this is one of the reasons why I say that I'm not very good at, let's say, this game, because of the fact that I've not even tried to do a chimps run on an expert map. I feel like I'll just flop on the first few rounds and be frustrated with it because I can't find a path forward. Obviously, they are possible to be done because people have done them. But for me, it's like trying to wrap my head around trying to put together a strategy in order to be able to do all this in. Also, there was a challenge, an advanced challenge, where you could potentially do cornfield on chimps, and because of the fact that there was only one round in that advanced challenge, I've forgotten what date it was on. You could probably find it on Ethan Reed's channel, sorry. That you can do this challenge on cornfield on chimps and you would get the achievement because you did complete a map or a challenge on this map on chimps, and therefore you can get that achievement. It's a cheeky way of getting it, but alas, if it was there when it was possible, then it can be done. Erosion. Erosion is a very, very unique map because it is in its name, it erodes over time. Thank you so much for watching and take care of yourselves, everybody.